Part 88. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 874. Reversed. You are all reversed. Xialo, who is a medium gold fairy, is still very scared. But Penwenkeo sneered, "You monks from the nether world, how many people are great? In my eyes, you are not much better than those mortals. Xianxia is really a place where anti-thieves are born. Okay. Since this is the case, all of you die." After Penwenkeo said, he shook his body and shouted, "Incarnation 10,000." In the blink of an eye, a large piece of Penwenkeo appeared in the sky. These are not ghost images, not illusions. Each one is a real Penwenkeo, and each one has the same fighting power. Now do you still want to rely on more to win? Penwenkeo laughed in the front, and then waved coldly, "Kill all, leave no one." But at this moment of life and death, there was already an old man standing on the top of the mountain. The old man was dizzy and was wearing a dirty apron. "Wenkao, how many times have I said, don't just go to the lower bound? Is it equivalent to farting now?" The old man's voice was faint, not loud at all, but it seemed to be in everyone's ear. Yakong looked down, and was surprised to see that the old man turned out to be the old Hong man who sold maggots in Wanjiachen. The cricket of Wanjiachen is very famous. Many people have eaten it, so everyone was surprised. They don't know when this old man will arrive, nor do he know where he is sacred. Penwenkeo frowned, and asked coldly, "Who are you?" The old man's body flickered, showing his true features, and he was actually a middle-aged scientist with big ears, 5 beards, and black eyebrows slanting, not angry. Seeing this person, Penwenkeo, who was not alive, was so frightened that he took the incarnation, stepped down from the air, stood in front of him with his fists, and respectfully said, "The young nephew has seen Hongbo the father and emperor often mentioned these years, please Hongbo is free to sit at Xiling Star." Unexpectedly, this person's real name is Hongbo. Hongbo snorted coldly, "Sit and sit, the fourth child probably wished I was dead." Penwenkeo panicked and said, "No, no, not only my father and emperor, but the second, the third, the fifth, the sixth, and the sixth uncle all want to see the uncle." "Okay," Hongbo interrupted Penwenkeo with a wave of his hand, and said, "I say again, without my permission, those who are in the lower world without permission, I will kill them. Especially Xianxia, aren't you doing enough stuff in Xianxia?" Penwenkeo looked very afraid of Hongbo and hurriedly saluted, Yes, I'll go now." "Slow. Kill me more than 100,000 innocent people in Surabaya, how can he let him go easily?" Cao Guang angrily blocked Penwenkeo and said to Hongbo, "This senior, this person is my life and death, we must never don't let it go." Many brothers also shouted, "You must not let him go." Penwenkeo said angrily, "Ma, do you really want to die?" "Wenkao," Hongbo drank Penwenkao and smiled at Cao Guang, "anyway, there is rescue." Everyone was surprised, the people in the city couldn't die anymore, and the immortals couldn't save them. What's the skill of Hongbo? I saw Hongbo walk to the edge of the mountain-top platform, watching Surabaya city buried in the snow under his feet, and spit out 4 words. Time backflow. In a blink of an eye, a white cloud of snow immediately gathered above Surabaya city. Then, the frost, snow and rain gradually reduced. The thick snow layer is thinning quickly. Yakong looked at all this in surprise. In the direction of Surabaya city, it seemed as if the back button was pressed for a period of DV. Everything just now was reproduced, but it was played backwards. Time goes back very quickly. After a while, the snow on the streets of Surabaya city disappeared, the collapsed house was erected again, and the frozen guards were restored to life. When everything retreated like a tide, was present, everyone opened their mouths in surprise. Time synchronization, Hongbo drank again, and Surabaya city returned to people, as if everything was just a dream. The disturbed crowd on the street is still disturbing, young women walking on the street, dock workers carry sacks on the dock, and the old man in the house is still teaching the children. No one knows that they have just experienced a death just now. And all this was seen by all monks. Everyone went back and re-examined this Hongbo. Everyone had doubts in their hearts. What kind of fairy law is this? It's too powerful. With this immortal law, what is impossible in the world? However, Penwenkeo was ashamed, looking at Surabaya city below, and then looking at Hongbo, saying autonomously, time law rule. Hongbo smiled slightly at him and nodded, yes. Penwenkeo never stayed, regardless of Jizilo, turned his head, and walked straight to the top of the sky like a little black mouth. Prince Pen, wait for me. Jizilo hurried to keep up, and they whispered before they walked to the space passage. What is the law of time? Why have I never heard of it in fairyland? Penwenkeo replied absently, I also heard that this is the first time I saw it today. I can't think of Hongbo's retreat for more than 100,000 years, but he really realized the basic principles. It seems that he will not stay in this world for too long. After a long time, I have to go back and tell my father. This world? The immortal world or the lower world, Jizilo quickly followed in. According to Hongbo's strength, he was definitely a member of the immortal world. He could not be a person in the lower world, but Jizilo was not sure. At this moment the two have stepped into the space channel and came to the fairyland. Penwenkeo sneered, of course it is now. Although Jizilo had been mentally prepared to listen to Penwenkeo, he was still surprised. This world? Fairyland. Doesn't he stay in fairyland for long? God. Is he going to? Jizilo was startled again, who the is that? Penwenkeo snorted coldly, you shouldn't ask, don't ask. Hongbo, who are you? Yekong was asking the same question at the moment. After Penwenkeo and others left, Hongbo didn't accept the invitations of the big babies, but after a brief greeting, he took Yekong on the streets of Surabaya city. The streets are still lively. No one knows what was born a moment ago. They still live the same life, do the same business, and behave like every day before. Hongbo looked at the people on the street, smiled lightly, and replied casually, I am the fascinator of the fairyland. Leading people? Leading people in the nether ascension, Yekong didn't believe it. Although he has not been to the immortal world, it is impossible to think about it. This kind of connection work must be that the lowest level immortal talents would do it, and Hongbo was scared away by Penwenkeo. How could this kind of strength be just an attraction? Hongbo laughed, it's really attracting people, or inducing them. Then all of you will be led by you after flying up to fairyland, Yekong asked again. Hongbodeo, not the same. The 5 immortal emperors in the southeast, northwest, and northwest are different. Some provide guidance, some do not, some guidance are 18-pin fairy generals, and others are randomly found. The inferior immortal, and the difference is different according to the target of the ascension. Some people are ascended and some are picked up, some are ascended and no one is picked up, and some people are ascended to him. Just like the Qinglai Wei who soared a while ago. Yekong fainted, the one who led Qinglai Wei to Taifushan. He heard that Wu Junzianjun once said that Taifushan was not a good place. Taiwanshan is the place where prisoners are held in the fairyland. Yekong was funny, I can't think of Qinglai Wei's kid being counted as east and west, but he didn't figure it out at the end. He went to jail as soon as he soared. Hongbo laughed, who told him to take so many people up? Then you, Hongbo, belong to which imperial palace in the southeast and northwest? Yekong asked again. I don't belong to any emperor's mansion. I only pick the person I should pick up. Hongbo was still laughing, but his eyes looked at Yekong with scorching eyes. Yekong's heart jumped for no reason, and then he asked carefully, then lead the uncle. Who should you pick, who is it? Hongbo said, people who can pick up my class after going to the fairyland. Yekong laughed, uncle led, everyone wants to become immortals and enjoy immortal happiness forever. Who wants to ascend to become the 18-pin fairy? I knew a horse-raising fairy before, too. Xianxia, such a small official, no one likes to do it. Hongbo laughed, the 18th grade? That's a fairy. You dream, I'm not even the 18th grade. I have no grade at all. Yekong stunned, then you'll be even more ill, uncle, it's not me who hit you. The person you want to meet is not so easy to find. Ye Hongbo looked at the distance and said, it's really not easy to find. Then Hongbo, since the boy is lucky to know you, could you please teach me some fairy methods? Yekong asked carefully again. What do you want to learn? Hongbo stood still and asked with interest. Back in time. Hongbo shook his head. You can't learn. Extinction. Humber shook his head. I forgot this low-level spell. The power of heaven. Hongbo still shook his head. Everyone's strength in heaven is different, and teaching you harms you. Incarnation, shrinking into inches, crossing the border. Humber still shook his head. Yekong was depressed, and said, then Hongbo, please give me some fairy wares that I can use to defend myself. Hongbo smiled, but asked Yekong a question, do you believe in destiny? Destiny, Hongbo's question was too jumpy, Yekong thought for a moment before answering, I believe in destiny. I came to this big six and encountered the 5 elements of ascension of the Immortal Sutra, went on the road to immortality, and got 5 more. The method of making infant Fa and 5 flying swords later became the master of the Shadow clan. All these are so incredible, as if there were arrangements in the dark, so I believe in destiny. Hongbo nodded and said, since you believe in destiny, you should know that destiny is already in place. Just like when you met me, I saved the people in Surabaya. These have destiny arrangements, why do you care about those fairy what about? Hongbo, you said a little bit, but... Yekong frowned again. Hongbo laughed, but don't you be sorry when you meet the fairy. Okay, then I can't be so stingy, give you a greeting. Yekong was embarrassed when he was guessed, but he was glad when he heard that Hongbo was going to give him something. Hongbo said, all I can give you is one word. That is, you are a man of destiny, and the man who destined to take over my class, practice well, I wait for you. After Hongbo said, his figure began to fade, and his faint smile gradually remained in Yekong's mind. Hey, uncle, what is this meeting ceremony for you, please, I don't want to be an 18-pin fairy, let alone an unproductive fairy. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 875. Fairyland. East Margin Star. Through the layers of luxurious palaces, the splendid barriers, and through a glorious bead curtain, you can see a beautiful figure standing against the railing. Looking closely at the outside of the building, the tall misty bamboo in the fairy mist. Viewed from the side, the figure is extremely beautiful. A fit-fitting summer dress evokes her youthful figure, and a dark blue silk shawl set off her skin. She swabai is white, and there are flowing clouds under the skirt. Gone with the wind. Wow! Suddenly, the bead curtain was lifted, and a little maid with a shiver came in. After saluting, she said in a clear voice, if you are a fairy, the emperor wants you to pass. Oh, come immediately. Lien Ruolan seemed to be awakened, long, and then followed the maid to the emperor's palace. In the imperial palace, Oriental Emperor Sikong Zhongping sat in the center, wearing a high crown, a face like Wen Yu, and 5 long beards under his jaw. His appearance was majestic. I've seen my father. Lien Ruolan had already been adopted as a daughter by Xiandi, so he changed his mind. Well, Xiandi finally saw Lien Ruolan, and finally she had a silk smile on her face. This offspring, he is still very satisfied. Just over a year after coming to the fairy realm, he has reached the realm of the middle golden fairy, which is still very good. The emperor said, "If it is Lan, today there is a happy event to tell you. Some days ago, someone went to the nether and saw that your friend Yekong has returned to Kangnan safely, so you don't have to worry about it." "Oh, really?" Lian Ruolan smiled, and finally heard Yekong's news. How was she unhappy? She was happy, and the emperor was not happy anymore, and her expression sank. "The answer to your father has already been done. From now on, you must also fulfill your vows and practice with peace of mind, and no longer spend your mind for the person in the lower world. Your promotion is good, but with the purest blood in our empty house, it should be faster." "Yes," Lian Ruolan answered quickly, but she thought of another question. Xiandi said just now that others saw Yekong in the lower bounds, that is to say, Xiandi just heard about it and didn't take any help. "What promise you have done?" Lian Ruolan asked. "Father Emperor, dare to ask Yekong how to return to Kangnan? I remember that my father had promised me to go back to Yekong afterwards. Why did it take more than a year and a half?" Kong Zhongping was embarrassed when asked. In fact, he didn't go to Yunyao, and as an emperor he didn't have to lie. But Yekong was in the Mustard Time Tower, and the Mustard Time Tower was located in a mysterious place, so he could not find Yekong when he was an immortal emperor. He was a little bit angry and yelled, "Ruolan, what is your attitude?" "Ask the father." Drank Ruolan didn't dare to say it again. He was relieved. Now the fairy land is also not quite peaceful. "Ah, now that you have become the princess of the emperor's mansion, when you come to the immortal realm, you need to be a little more sensible, and have a long-term perspective. Don't memorize those sentimental things all day long. If you think about it later, you will realize how stupid you are." Refining Ruolan wrote, "Father Emperor, Ruolan grew up in Lingyaoshan from a young age. It is not a sentimental temper. He just remembers Yekong. Since Father Emperor promised me that he didn't do it, ask Father to change his promise. Bring him on." Fairy Kong Zhongping was furious. "What's the matter with your child? Do you think I can just go down and take someone with me? Do you think that the celestial master eats dry rice?" If Kong Zhongping didn't read some old feelings, then Zikang Xing would be early. It was completely destroyed. "My greatest virtue for Yekong is to keep him alive." The words of Xiandi are full of threats. "It's good for me to keep Yekong alive. If you force me again, I will let him die." Lian Ruolan didn't dare to say any more, and lowered her head. Kong Zhongping calmed down before he said, "I'll take you up and see your bloodline for a while, and secondly, you should be sensible. Don't be like the girl Dodo, you don't know where to go crazy all day, can't help me worry, it also gives me trouble." "Yes." Lian Ruolan bowed his head and said aloud. The emperor said, "Other immortals will come to talk about things these days. Don't dwell on your own cultivation. The relationship between the various emperors should still be handled well. In fact, I am not very optimistic about the boy Peng Wenkeo, but your uncles are all pretty good." This is the thing that annoys Ruolan heart most. She rens other things, but this kind of thing can't be ren. At the moment he looked up and said, "Father and Emperor, don't talk too much. If Lan Ian's heart is filled with people, there is no gap. Let him be a young talent or a young fairy. Have nothing to do with Ruolan." Kong Zhongping stared at him, glaring at Lian Ruolan. But this time, Lian Ruolan didn't bow his head, but looked back at the emperor, his eyes filled with determination. Kong Zhongping had no choice but to take a step back, looking back and sighing, "Actually, I am also good for your father, and one day, my father will also leave this world. By that time, my East Edge star will not even have an ally. Forget it, since you do like to receive men, then you accept women." The condensed fairy in the southern imperial palace, the celestial Lin in the western imperial palace in Xiling, the daughter of the imperial emperor in the north, Chu Yi, etc. They will come this time, to get in touch with them, to find out some news. It can be regarded as helping the father. Xianning Fairy, Xiling Lin, Chu Yi, they are all well-known fairies in the fairy world, plus Ju Fen's boss Li Fen's fairy, all born with noble background, strong background, known as the Four Fairyland Fairy. Therefore, when receiving the second generation of immortals, Lian Ruolan did not object, and nodded. Father Emperor is assured, Ruolan must try to make friends with them. Si Kong Zhonping nodded and said, I have to inquire about the news. What news? Immortal Lord is about to rise, people's hearts are floating, and explore the attitudes of all parties. Whoever wants to take the ban will want to fight, Si Kong Zhonping said, coldly humming. You can let go of what I mean and see how they react. This kind of struggle for power, the sword of swords and swords in words, and the tentative confrontation behind the smile, Lian Ruolan didn't really like it, and he couldn't do it. However, Lian Ruolan nodded and said, yes. Yun Fuzong. Although Hongbo rescued the people of Surabaya city, and also stopped Pen Wenkeo and others from doing evil, Yekong knew that the hatred of himself and Pen Wenkeo, and even the western imperial palaces had already ended. I can still have some comforting days in Kangnan, but in the future, I will rise to the immortal world, Pen Wenkeo and others will kill and then quickly. Therefore, Yekong adjusted the sales method and price of the entire law, and sold them all cheaply, not to 500 billion. Jo Men sold 100 million yuan, 50 million in the middle gate, 20 million in the lower gate, and dozens of yuan babies were rejoicing on Yunfuzong Mountain. Even the hated Qingming Valley, Yekong also sold, which excited the current head Yuan Zhou Sanshao, patted Yekong and said that he would wait for Shi Dingfeng to go out and let him apologize. Everyone thought that Yekong was looking at everyone's efforts to fight the enemy that day, and this was the reason why this price was so low. In fact, the most important thing is that Yekong knows that sooner or later he will rise. The road to the fairyland is not easy, he needs friends, he needs many friends. If everyone goes to Kangnan in the future, they will take care of each other and help each other. Yuan Ying, who had won the law in various places, all left and could not wait to go back to practice. Refining, breakthrough, and refining, one day, can also rise to immortality and possess a powerful force of heaven. Yekong can't wait to go back to practice. From the perspective of Pen Wenkeo's work, refining Ruolan is very popular in the fairyland. It is estimated that there are also many flies surrounding the refining Ruolan. This is something that Ye can't accept, and no man can accept it. Although he absolutely believes in Lian Ruolan, he can't accept the buzz of these flies. So Yekong made up his mind to go back and retreat. Never break without breaking out. But before we go back, there are still a few things to deal with. On this day, the spring rain is as fine as ox hair, like countless fine embroidery needles, enveloping the entire Yunfu mountain in a mist of smoke, like a dream. It's finally time to separate. Below Yunfuzong mountain, send Xianting. Sending Xianting is a must for mortals to send their loved ones up the mountain. After sending them to the mountain, it means that one person, one immortal, and no relationship, the immortal broke the dust, and the mortal no longer has this loved one. Almost. However, this is also to say that they are all relatives who have become cultivators. Of course, they have to help the family, and the family is also shining because of the monks. When you go out and say, "Who is your official?" Isn't that strange? An official is a bird? Who in my family is a monk, is a fairy. Your old eggs will destroy your family. Sending Xianting has become a farewell place today. Yekong and the mixed Yuan Zong and his party are about to leave Yunfuzong. Of course, Zhang Wei and Bai Ji are leaving. Practice in the mixed Yuan Zong. I will retreat as soon as you leave. The three seniors Susuyi and Logo Swallow, you have already closed the retreat and hit Yuan Ying Day Wan Man. I can't fall behind too much. Cao Guang was only at this moment in the middle of Yuanying. I really wanted to hurry up and catch up with others. Ye Kong haha laughed. Of course they were anxious in the late Yuanying period. I heard that the new 18 Jo Men Yuanying bets were made. Which one will be the first to become a god? Li Haoshan said, Sovereign Lord, this is indeed the case, and his subordinates also bet on them. This time I will go back and practice well. I will be close to death. If I do not reach Yuan Daman, I will die in the prison. Ye Kong laughed. I didn't expect that. When I returned, Ye Kang set off a wave of Kangnan refining. Li Haoshan and Cao Guang both laughed. Then, Li Haoshan embarrassed them, and Ye Kong chatted with Zhang Wulin and others. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 876. In fact, Zhang Wulin, Lanchenming, Ye Xian, and others all wanted to follow Ye Kong to mix Yuan Zone. However, Ye Kong didn't agree. He had already abducted Zhang Wuyi and Huang Zixuan. If he had to take a few more, Cao Guang would have to work hard with himself, so let's talk about it later. Looking at Ye Kong as the ancestor of Jidan, and the master of the same case, the brothers were also excited. Yes, Indeo, Donger and I have to work hard this time. Although we are not qualified, we believe that diligence can make up for it. Ye Kong nodded and said, okay. Hard work, everyone works hard, and after the fight, everyone can rise and go to the immortal world to kill that Prince Peng. Everyone is focusing on the point. Peng Wenkao has now become the person who all the immortals in southern Kangnan want to kill. Zhang Wulin also pointed out that not far away, Zhang Wuyi was crying and crying in the arms of her master over there, reluctant to separate. Zhang Wulin said, my sister will leave it to you. It's best to meet next time and give me my entire niece and niece out. Ye Kong laughed. Then you and Li Yao should also cheer. Zhang Wulin laughed. Li Ruo shyly shot him. Ye Kong also smiled, and then went to Zhang Wuyi's side and said, martial arts, there is no need to cry, we are not going back forever, you can come back to see Master at any time, and Master can also come to us as a guest. Cao Muse also patted Zhang Wuyi road. Yeah, stupid apprentice, if that kid bullies you, you will come back to tell Master that Yun Fuzong's cave will keep it for you all year round. Zhang Wuyi wiped away his tears, nodded and stood up, and said, Master, you have to be a frequent guest at this time. Baiji giggled and said, everyone don't have to be so sad, it's better to have a joke just now. Master Wu Yi also asked, what did Ye Kong's phrase elephant brother mean? Why was Peng Venkang so angry after listening? Yes, I have been wondering for several days. What does the elephant brother mean? Ask anyone who doesn't know, Cao Mose asked curiously. That's because they are embarrassed to say it. Ye Kong was also embarrassed to say, but could not stand Cao Muse staring and asking, and had to say, there is a story that said an elephant saw a camel one day and sneered, haha, camel, your mummy how did grow on his back, camel despised, go. I don't talk to Gigi's face. At this time, a snake was swimming next to it, and the snake laughed. Seeing this, the elephant furious, don't laugh, you're not going to get better. Things with eyes on the chicken base. Zhang Wuyi and Baiji were used to his obituary, and they both understood. Zhang Wuyi burst into tears and laughed, and said, you have nothing good in your mouth. Baiji laughed, in fact, the metaphor is really real. I think Peng Wenkao is the elephant and Ji Zilo is the snake. That Ye Kong brother is that camel. Zhang Wuyi laughed. Mimi grows on her back, haha, both women laughed into a ball. Only Cao Muse's face was inexplicable, confused, and could not understand why they laughed like this. Yakong, what the are you talking about? What me, Jiji? How can I not understand? Master Cao Mos now became a curious baby. Yakong was really speechless. This master is too simple. Zhang Wei and Bai Jie were arguing over there, didn't hear it, and wouldn't come to solve his embarrassment, but Cao Muse stared at his eyes and waited for his answer. Master, this question is really too professional, Yakong said helplessly. Cao Muxian looked sullen and said, come here, I have something to tell you alone. The two walked out of the Xianting pavilion and came to the side of the road. When Cao Muse raised her hand and laid a system, she not only blocked the drizzle, but also isolated their conversation. In fact, Cao Muse has been hesitating today, if you want to ask him face to face that day. If asked, they will inevitably be embarrassed. However, if you do ask, you will be upset. Seeing that you are going to retreat and impact Yuan Ying, you can't understand these things without making it clear. She was very difficult to decide and wanted to ask, but couldn't ask. Just then, Yakong was reluctant to answer her questions, so when she was annoyed, she simply took Yakong out. Yakong, I know that you are not in the pool, and you will definitely rise to immortality in the future. Your character is also certain. Basically, you can be regarded as a responsible man. That's why I agreed to approve the two apprentices. You alone. Cao Muse said. Yakong knew that if it was important, he wouldn't intervene, just nodded. Sure enough, Cao Muse turned around and said, but there is one thing that you can't do well, extremely bad. That's honesty. Like the question I asked you just now, although it's just a joke, why can't you answer honestly? Go right and left, it's not the honest person I want to see. Yakong feels ashamed, you are my wife's master, how can I explain to you? How could this be linked to honesty? Master, maybe you made a mistake. I didn't want to deceive you, just that explanation. I really can't tell you. This is hard to tell. It's not a lie to deceive. I hope Master's distinction is clear. You still have to quibble, justify it. Cao Muse hummed coldly, that night saved me in Luan Yuan zone, but I was frivolous, presumably it wasn't you. Yakong Gli jumped, but Cao Muse didn't expect it, and he asked himself in person, oh, really, the victim came to the door. However, Yakong is also a bachelor. I will do it after I do it. I admit it. Yakong nodded and said, Master, you guessed right, that was indeed me that day. I came out of the mixed UN hall that day and happened to see that Master you were shot down by a magic weapon. At that time, the situation was urgent, and I couldn't care to indicate status, rushed to catch Master. When Cao Mo saw him admit it himself, he said angrily, you should save me, I should be grateful for your life-saving grace, but why did you do that kind of thing later? Yakong sighed, Master, in fact, it wasn't your fault or mine's fault. Whose fault? Cao Mo's annoyed. Someone looked at the sky remotely, and said leisurely, that's the moon, Mu's ancestor, haven't you seen it? The moonlight that night is too beautiful and you are too moving, I will be in an instant and want to be with you. Hold hands to Whitehead. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 877. City of Fantasy. There are many girls around your kid. Kuangpeng smiled and looked at Zhang Wei and Bai Jie next to Yakong. After these days, Huang Quan's ancestors also succeeded in building the foundation. The boy was dressed like a child. Bai Jie was particularly happy to see her son. She hadn't seen her for several years. She couldn't tell whether her son had changed a person inside. But for this obedient son, Bai Jie is still very happy. But is the son really obedient? Seeing the boy lying in Bai Jie's arms and squeezing his eyes, Yakong really wanted to go up and pump him. Now that Kuangpeng is sorry, Yekong certainly releases his wife and younger brothers, and accepts Kuangpeng's fairy light. In Yekong's words, if you do NT connect, you will waste it. The women around you are not bad, Yekong replied with a smile. It can be seen that Kuangpeng has been very comfortable in the past few months, the scars on his face have been suppressed, and Ling Ziqiu's face is filled with a smile. Kuangpeng laughed, I'm just one, but you have so many. When Kuangpeng swept behind Yekong, not only Zhang Wei and Bai Jie, but also a group of picture and audio brothers. In fact, Yekong also wanted his old mother Lu Qin. They also came out, but they were all closed in the pipa beads, and that's it. Why, how much more do you want? Ling Ziqiu smiled gently, and she was not idle. Under her hand, her little finger was pinching the arm of a daypen bird. I just need one. Kuangpeng smiled. It seems that this 100,000-year-old bachelor is still afraid of his wife. Yekong asked again, so what will your sister-in-law do after you rise? Should we go to Yuan Zone or continue to practice here? Ling Ziqiu said, I originally wanted to go to Yuan Zone, or go to a human city in Kangnan, but... She said and went to look at the ancient tree at the end of the road. There were many light hanging on it. If she leaves, there will be no place for these light to go. Ling Ziqiu said, like me, these are nowhere to go to the soul. This place has become their home. I can't ruin their home for my own sake. Yekong nodded and asked, what if you soar? That's only time to say, anyway, there is still a long time. Since Ling Ziqiu was reluctant to leave, she could only keep her staying in Kangbei, and Yekong did not force it. At this time, suddenly the sky began to change color, and dark clouds began to gather. The weather in the fantasy city is the weather outside the map, so the gathering of black clouds here shows that the same scene outside. My heaven is here. Kuangpeng nodded to everyone, hugged Ling Ziqiu, and said to Yekong, I'm gone, Ziqiu will take care of me, and the one in black I leave everything to you, and I have proposed to the elders that you be the new elders. Kuangpeng finished, a flash, and out of the fantasy city. The dark clouds in the sky quickly gathered on a small hill in Kangbei. This was the place where Kuangpeng had already prepared to cross. The beasts and trees on the hill had already been cleaned up, and Kuangpeng had set up 3-layer defense formation. As the dark clouds gathered, the sky suddenly darkened, and the nearby beasts fled. This is Xianxia? The power is really powerful. Zhang Wei looked at such a spectacular dark cloud, could not help but change color. Yekong nodded and said, it looks okay. In fact, Yekong is compared with Qing Lai Wei's guy, who is taking the sky with so many people. Of course, Tian Lai Wei is also surprisingly powerful. By comparison, the sky robbery of Kuangpeng is not so terrible. However, Qing Lai Wei's kid was too cruel. He actually used the power of hundreds of true monarchs and priests present to help the robbery. Otherwise, with his own strength, it would never be possible to survive the calamity. It is not so easy to cross the robbery. Boom! A thick lightning bolt cut through the sky and fell suddenly. Snapped! A flash of light on the hilltop battle method completely blocked the robbery. Haha, Xianxia, but that's it. Kuangpeng in the formation was dressed in black, with no wind on his sleeves, and laughed. The thunderstorm was probably angry, and then another one was split, but this one has not yet fallen, and then another one after another. The thunderstorm was split like a mad, not giving Kuangpeng any nebs. This wave of thunder, it was very violent. After a while, it defeated the defensive formation set by Kuangpeng in advance. However, Kuangpeng did not panic, but raised his hand to take out a Baoluo umbrella. It seems that he is very well prepared for this disaster. It didn't take long for the Baoluo umbrella to be smashed by looting mines, and Kuangpeng sacrificed a bronze mirror-like magic weapon. The bronze mirror was destroyed, and Kuangpeng sacrificed another exquisite tower ancient treasure on his head. When Linglong Tower broke, he took it out again. Yekong fainted and laughed, Kuangpeng, the boy said that Xianxia didn't care about it. He was still afraid of death. He was carrying so many defensive magic weapons. When Ye Kong left, Bai Jie said softly, Xianxia isn't afraid. You are a monk who builds foundations. In the future, you will have to rise to the immortal through the calamity. How can you be afraid? Although Bai Jie said so, it was natural for the mother to take care of her son, and Ren couldn't help but hold Chen Baixuan in his arms. Looking at Huang Quan's ancestor smiling proudly, someone's heart was angry, but his face also laughed. Xianxia, you are a woman, and you haven't practiced yet. She is also scared. Come and let you hug you as a teacher. Looking at someone's mild smile, Chen Baixuan said quickly, no need, if master wants to hug, I will let my mother give you a hug. Ye Kong ignored him, and closed his ears directly, then hugged him, and preached, boy, if you dare to hold my wife, I will slap you into a flower. Huang Quan's ancestor shouted, the stink boy is so stingy. Okay, I won't hold it in the future. You let go of me, you BT, your stuff is against me. Fart your fart. I'm not interested in you. Ye Kong kicked him away. Huang Quan's ancestor laughed, I said that the small sword weapon hanging on your waist is against me. Deu, who has not spoken, said, Chen Baixuan, you don't listen to your son, I want to beat you. Huang Quan's ancestors were really afraid of this violent little female dragon. She didn't take her fist in the miners' village, and was so scared that she hid behind Ye Kong and scolded, hey, you rural dirt dragon, what's your matter? Deu was furious, Xiao Fengkan swore, and said in a clear voice, you're an immortal fake product, see if I don't make you the original. Ye Kong fainted, and this girl, Deu, didn't tell the truth, and quickly grabbed Deu, saying, okay, don't make any noise, don't affect the senior Kuangpeng seniors. Huang Quan's ancestors and Deu made a lot of nervousness, but when everyone looked at the mountain again, they became nervous again. It turned out that after several waves of intensive sky mines passed, there was no more shot of sky mines in Jiyun, and everything was calm. However, Jiyun did not disperse, but slowly circled around the center of Jiyun, slowly rotated, and slowly rotated the center of Jiyun out of an overhanging funnel. Everyone knows that this is the rain that came from the mountain and rain, and Jiyun was gaining momentum. He immediately dropped the blow, fearing that it would be the strongest blow. Standing at the top of the hill, Kuangpeng looked up, and said lightly, why did you hit the last one? It shouldn't disappoint me, otherwise it would look loose. Just then, there was a loud noise in the sky, booming, clicking. A dragon formed by a purple current drilled out a thick black cloud and shot straight down to the Mad Peng. Lingzixia couldn't help covering her mouth. In fact, repairing the robbery is generally more difficult than humans, probably because the cultivation time is too long. In short, the thunderstorms ushered in by the repairing robbery are not ordinary. At the beginning of looking at those mines that were not powerful, Lingzixia was relieved, thinking that Kuangpeng was lucky, but now it seems that this is not the case. The mines in front of him are weak, because all the forces are left in the final blow. Thunderstorms and dragons, the people present waited, even if Ye Kong was foolish, how powerful was it to heal the thunderstorms of dragons? Can Kuangpeng stop it? At this moment, the mad penguin standing on the top of the hill laughed and wore a black suit swinging with the wind. Ji Lei Hualong. God, you really deserve me. After Kuangpeng finished speaking, he stood up, and the black figure greeted him. In the air, the black figure of Kuangpeng suddenly swelled and turned into a golden rock bird. I don't know what great magical powers Kuangpeng used. I saw a huge light and shadow appearing in the sky. At the same time, a chirp rang through the clouds. The wings flew, and Kuangpeng's degree was so fast that he couldn't keep up with his eyes. The lightning dragon and golden daypen rushed into the air in an instant. Boom! At the moment of the collision, a white light cluster that eclipsed the sun burst, leaving everyone's eyes temporarily blind. However, before the moment of vision loss, there was a residual image, but it was deeply imprinted in the eyes of everyone. Kuangpeng was hit by the dragon-shaped lightning, and the rag was generally thrown away. Short-term blindness, but everyone's hearts are full of ominous premonitions. Obviously, the crazy blow into the original shape still did not resist the powerful dragon-shaped lightning. Crazy Peng brother. Ling Ziqiu rushed to the first. After Ye Kong, others followed. Everyone has a hunch, it's not good. After all, how many people in the world can survive under the shock? Sure enough, at this moment, Kuangpeng had been beaten back to its original shape, and the wings spread freely were full of scorching. There was a stale smell at the scene. Kuangpeng's pair of golden feet had broken the vitality. Big bird brother. Ling Ziqiu hugged Kuangpeng's body, tears rolling down. Everyone looked at each other, sighed in their hearts, and wanted to accept a little fairy light, but did not expect to encounter such a sad theater. Ye Kong was also stunned. I didn't expect that Tianjia thunder was so powerful at last, it just didn't give people a way to live. Great magical powers like Kuangpeng can't resist, no one in this world can resist. This god, Ye Kong suddenly looked up and scolded. But when he looked up, he was surprised again and hurriedly shouted, Jinquan. I see Jinquan. Successful crossing. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 878. Ling Ziqiu opened her tears and looked up, only to see the dark clouds in the sky crack a big opening, the splendid golden light pouring down like a waterfall, spectacular and grand. It stands to reason that as long as you don't die, even if you cross the robbery successfully, even if you still have a breath, it's okay, it will succeed. The point is, now Kuangpeng is really dead, and he can't die anymore. Why is there a successful scene of crossing the robbery? Ling Ziqiu's tears, I don't know if it is sad or happy, look at the sky, and look at the craziness in her arms, wondering, what the is going on. Ye Kongdao said, Sunzi, you can rest assured. People will make mistakes, and heaven will not make mistakes. Since a successful vision of the robbery appears, it means that Kuangpeng is not dead. Really, Ling Ziqiu was dubious. But the reassuring scene came quickly. In the large piece of golden light, there are strands of souls converging. Those souls slowly condense under the light of golden light, and slowly show a human shape. The human shape seems to be cast by golden light, and the whole body is golden and bright. Face, but so familiar and kind. It is Kuangpeng. His face was covered with ecstasy. Is that so? Kuangpeng watched Jin Chankan slowly return to his normal human body, and after confirming it, he laughed, it's the spirit that rises and reshapes the fairy body. From then on, I'm not a rock body, but a real fairy, a fairy remade by haze, haha, God treats me really well. The crowd then came to understand, Kuangpeng really lost his luck, and even encountered the legendary soul ascension to reshape the fairy body. Legend has it that Xiu's best ascension ending is like this. Because Xiu Du is full of concern for his own body. Although he is human, he is still an animal. Does anyone want to be a human? But the ascension of the soul is not the same, that is, while taking the ascension, completely abandon the original animal skin, that is, from the inside to the outside, it is no longer, it is a person, it is a fairy. If it is said that the ascension of the soul is to repair face, attach importance to appearance. So remodeling the fairy body is a real benefit. Think of the other monks Saring, that is the forged body of Xianguang, and forged the body with Xianguang to adapt to the environment of the fairy world. To reshape the fairy body, the cow fork is not, it is not forged by Xianguang, but it is cast by Xianguang, and the entire body is reconstituted by Xianguang. This will greatly help Kuangpeng in the fairy world in the future. Like him, the practice of immortality will be very fast, and many people who reshape the fairy body can have more than two kinds of heavenly power. Therefore, Kuangpeng will mix well in the immortal world in the future and become the object of competition for the recruitment of various imperial palaces. Once they go up, they can mix a high-level fairy general. After Kuangpeng reshapes the fairy body, the moment of soaring has arrived. In the sky, countless wildflowers transformed into imaginary flowers are blooming. As more flowers bloom, more and more flowers gradually form a ladder composed of flowers, which extends to Kuangpeng. Everyone, I'm leaving. Kuangpeng's eyes glanced across the crowd and said, refining for tens of thousands of years. Today, it has soared. I just take a step forward. Everyone strives to practice. I believe there will be a day when the fairy land will meet. Kuangpeng clenched his fists, glanced over everyone, and finally stopped on Ling Ziqiu's face, taking a soft whisper and taking care. Then, he stepped on the ladder of hundreds of flowers, never looked back, and walked all the way to the highest point in the sky, toward the fairy land that every monk longed for. Yekanga said, predecessor Kuangpeng is right. As long as we work hard, we will all have a day of ascension. Watching Kuangpeng soar, everyone has a word in our hearts, we must also soar. We are going to fairyland too. Yekong's heart was even firmer. Senior Kengpeng, I will definitely go to the fairyland to find you. Ruolin, I won't let you down. Peng Wenkeo, wait for me. When Kuangpeng left, everyone returned to God. No. I forgot to accept the fairy light. Yekong was depressed, and his family wanted to take advantage of it. Who knew of the trouble of Kuangpeng, he actually forgot to accept Xianguang. But forget it and just forget it, let's not have this opportunity, whether it is magic weapon, heavenly material treasure, or fairy light, this needs opportunity. Kuangpeng left, Ling Ziqiu returned to a lonely life, but she had hope in her heart, and she also had to work hard to get to the fairy world and Kuangpeng to get together as soon as possible. Zhu Lingfei is still retreating, Yekong only leaves first, but Yekong's heart is still very emotional. Huang Shishi's cultivation is higher than that of Zhu Lingfei, but now he does not know where he is going. Zhu Lingfei is already breaking through, but Huang Shishi is one step slower than her. Alas, it's still a chance. Yekong returned to the mixed Yuan zone. Li Haoshan and others had not returned yet. Yekong asked people to arrange their caves, and each of them split up to practice. The most active one was Bai Jie. She saw that her son had already built a base, but she didn't even enter the door, so she knew to hurry up. However, Zhang Wei was not in a hurry to retreat, and after a few days it was time for Huang Zixuan's soul to reincarnate. She did not go with her, she was really at ease. And Yekong settled in a good crowd, and once again came to the Black Demon section. Upon checking the information, Elder number 17 did not bring him any news about Huang Shishi, and the reply from the magical demon Pan Dong Zhenjun did not come. Yun Qian said, the elder asked for him and asked him to go to the Presbyterian church. Yekong is overjoyed. If he becomes the elder of the Black Demon, it is undoubtedly a great event. Not only does he enjoy many data privileges of the Black Demon, but most importantly, he can enter the Mustard Tower. Okay. Go to the Presbyterian church now. Yekong nodded, the figure flashed, and then appeared again, already standing in the center of the Presbyterian church. The Presbyterian church was still the same, gloomy and dark, surrounded by high-backed chairs, but at the moment, there was no one inside. Yun Qian, when is the elder coming? Yekong looked around and asked. Yun Qian said, the elder is already here, please wait a moment, I will connect you with the elder. After a while, the elder's voice rang, 9527, we met again. Yekong nodded and said, hello elder, hello to you, elder number 4 has successfully ascended, it is the soul that soared. Now he has gone to the immortal world. When he is about to ascend, let the junior come to see you. The elder said, "It turns out that the soul is soaring. This is the best." Since then, he no longer has to worry about the injury on his face. Yekong nodded, "Yeah, not only don't have to worry about the injury on his face, he no longer has to worry about his way out in the immortal world. Presumably he has been remodeled by this fairy light. It is estimated that all the emperors will contend to accept him." The elder said, "So what? Those immortals are selfish. They can ignore everything for their own benefit. If they go to the immortal world for their officers, it is not a big deal." Yekong did not expect that the elders were familiar with the situation in the fairyland. He asked, "Elder, what is the situation in the fairyland? There are several immortal emperors. Where will they appear after the ascension? There are various realm levels and products in the fairyland. What is the relationship between the generals?" The elder laughed, "Why are you anxious to be an ancestor? Can you practice in the late period of the Mahayana? Can you pass the calamity? Can you ascend? These are very slim things." Yekong shook his head and said, "Elder, you don't know. The younger lover's lover was deceived into the sky, so the younger stubbornly died, desperately and desperately. People who bring the lower world privately to heaven? This is too nonsense, but the actions of the immortal emperors are nonsense." The elder cursed and said, "Since this is the case, I will tell you. The highest of the immortal world. The ruler is called Celestial Master. Celestial Master is also the most powerful in Celestial Realm. It can determine the life and death fate of all Celestial Masters, including Celestial Emperor. But I have never seen Celestial Master, and I never heard of Celestial Master there. However, many immortals doubt whether there is an immortal master, but I guess they do. Immortal Emperor is the immortal emperor. There are 5 immortal emperors. They divided the immortal realm into 5 large blocks, each governing one side, namely the 5 immortal emperors of the East, South, West, North, and China. I heard that the 5 immortal emperors were brothers and sisters who worked hard together, but after a million years, the strong friendship was also consumed. The immortal emperors were divorced from each other, engaged in intrigue, and often fought for battles." Yekong nodded. "There are rivers and lakes where there are people, and immortals are also people. They fight for power and interests. Isn't it the same as the world?" The elder agreed, "There are rivers and lakes in people's places. This is a very good statement. In fact, not only the immortals, but also the factions and the factions at all levels, but also the grudges and hatred," the elder said with emotion. "Preaching, the immortal emperor is under the immortal emperor, and there are very few immortal emperors in the immortal realm, because the immortal emperors are afraid that the immortal emperor will be too strong in the future and shake the immortal emperor. The Emperor Xian joined forces to fight, leaving no future trouble. I don't think the fairyland is so dark." Yekong sighed and looked up again. "What about the fairy king with a background? The immortal king with a background will become a guest of all the great emperors, and there will be a heavy responsibility. The object of pursuit." Yekong nodded, "It's really shameless. I have married my wife and eliminated the aftermath." Speaking of which, Yekong thought of Wu Yuan Xianjun, the ancestor of mixed Yuan zone. Could she also be the wife and concubine of an immortal? Asterisk, "You abominable fairy emperor, my wife, and your wife?" However, Yekong felt that this was wrong. In any case, Wu Yan was his ancestor. She didn't join the mixed Yuan zone before, and she didn't care about it. Now she is the mixed zone Yuan suzerain, so she can't think like that. He walked between the gods and listened to the elders preaching. When the immortal monarch comes down, he will be Luo Tianxian, divided into 3 classes, upper, middle, and lower. Then he comes down to Luo Jingxian, which is also divided into 3 classes. In the end, it is Jingxian, generally just ascended. The monk, after passing through the forged body of the fairy light, is the inferior golden immortal as soon as he reaches the immortal realm. In addition, there are immortals in the fairy land. These are the lowest level of existence in the fairy land. They are all born in the fairy land but have no qualifications to practice the fairy. Therefore, they can only do hard labor in the fairy land or join the various imperial palaces to become the lowest. Fairy soldier, go out to make cannon fodder when fighting. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 879. Yekong laughed, I see. Immortals are equivalent to the mortals in our world, and can't practice ascension. Those who rise in the lower world can skip this link and directly become the lowest golden immortal. Then cultivate into de luo Jingxian luo Tianxian Xianjun, and finally became the emperor of the immortals, the lord of the immortals. The elder said, that's it? This is the level of the immortal world. The immortal general does not refer to the cultivation level, but the official treatment that the great immortal emperors set for their subordinates, from 1 product to 18 products, and mortal emperors are the same. So it is Yekong heard the elder's explanation, and he knew a lot about the situation in the immortal world, and he asked the question he wanted most. So elder, have you ever heard of a man named Hongbo? He said he was an unscrupulous messenger. The elder laughed and laughed, the unsuccessful messenger? Jibo and my master were also famous people in the fairy land. How could we know a small messenger? Besides, I have been away from the fairy land for so long. The leaders of the imperial palace of China did not even know how many crops were changed. Oh, Yekong thought the elder had something to say, but was Hongbo just a little seductive? It's not like that. If this is the case, it would not be possible to scare Peng Wenkeo out of nowhere, and he would utter the words that the lower bound would kill it. There is such a good for all 18-pin fairy, and the emperor dares to intimidate. At this time, the elder said again, okay, I'm just a trace of the knowledge that Jibo stayed in the Black Demon sect, and I will dissipate the matter, he continued. Past, but I didn't agree. After all, you are an ancestor of Dandan, or you have just born Dandan, how can you occupy the position of elder number 4? Presumably other elders will not accept it? And, after becoming an elder, you often have to carry out Yudu and have the ability to kill the single messenger. Yekong nodded silently. The elder is right, with his own cultivation, how can he occupy the position of elder number 4? And those tasks can't be done by themselves, aren't they a display? Although I think so, Yekong is still very frustrated. But the elder smiled, but now I don't have a suitable candidate here, so I will leave you empty for the elder number 4, and give you a temporary elder. I will wait for you for 100 years, if you can become a within 100 years the number 4 position is barely for you. If you can't become a after 100 years, then not only will the elder number 4 not have, but even your temporary elder will be cancelled. Centuries of God. Although the century is not short, it is too short for monks. It takes decades for people to have a Dan, and it takes hundreds of years to have a baby. This is only the time needed to break through, and the time for cultivation in the middle has not been counted. Even after Yuan Ying's great consummation, the time required for Huafan to go through the lives of mortals for many generations is gone. So what the elders said is basically an impossible task. Yekong smiled bitterly. The elder, it took me 100 years to break from an ancestor with a layer of Dandan to become a king? Impossible, even if you have confidence in me, but I have no confidence in myself. To be honest, the practice method is the one that is more secure but slower. Unexpectedly, the elder scolded, you boy, I am so optimistic about you. For 1,000 years, you can't enter the of transformation? You might as well commit suicide now. 1,000 years? Isn't it? As soon as Yekong asked in confusion, he immediately understood the reason. Daxi said, "So elder, do you mean that I can use the mustard time tower for this century?" "That is of course." "Do you think that your qualifications can be cultivated to become gods in 100 years?" The elder snorted, and said, "But beforehand, after the gods are changed, he can no longer go. It's great to be a god, what else can I expect?" Yekong busy said, "I know, after deification, we must wait for people to unblock the second floor." The elder said again, "Also, this century is not for you to go in for cultivation. You have to pay 200 million yuan each year." Yekong fainted, and the elders who dared to love did not let themselves take advantage of themselves. It was 200 million spirit stones a year. Imagine that Yun Fuzong Cao Guang set up a 9-turn spirit array, and it took 3 years to spend nearly 10 million spirit stones. This has been astounding. Now, he actually spends 200 million spirit stones a year. It is an astronomical figure. Although Yekong recently relied on the method of selling exercises, but together, it is only more than 2 billion spirit stones. According to this algorithm, it is 10 years. The most important thing is that Yekong has already said to Li Haoshan and others that these spirit stones are used in the entire Yuan dynasty. Now if he takes these spirit stones back to him and uses them alone, this is a bit unreasonable. The elder, "Can you let me take more people?" Yekong asked again. "No. It's cheaper than," Yekong Rogue said. "Old elder, your mustard time tower is also idle, you let me in without loss. Why bother me to be a poor man? 200 million a year, you be me Kaiser?" The elder said angrily, "Who says idle is idle? Do you not need to spend time as a mustard? Driving such a powerful treasure, as well as the aura in each room, requires a lot of spiritual stones. Tell you, 1 year 200 million spirit stones are already very cheap." In this case, Yekong only shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Although the bear's paw is good, I have no money." But just before Yekong refused, the elder said again, "Why are you poor? Kuangpeng has left his property to you. He is the richest elder in Black Demon, I look jealous." Yekong suddenly remembered that Kuangpeng had said that he had left everything he had to him in Black Demon. "I thought this guy had run out of money and wouldn't leave a lot, but now it looks like a lot. Elder, Jibo, how much spirit stone did he leave me?" "Not much, $2 billion," the elder said lightly. 20 billion, Yekong's eyes widened, he just felt that his breathing had stopped. However, he despised himself, wasn't it just 20 billion yuan? Excitement, just 20 billion yuan. The elder urged, "Do you want to do it? I'll deduct the money. I deduct it once in 100 years. You don't have a stone in your account when I save it? I can't drive you out." Dry Yekong quickly agreed. The 2 billion yuan was originally an accidental gain, and even if it was killed by itself, it was worth it. After all, in the cultivation of immortals, cultivation is the most important. It turns into 1,000 years in 100 years. The old ancestors of Dandan went in, turned the gods and monarchs out, and changed for anyone. However, there are really few people in the world who can take out 20 billion in one breath. "All right, I'll deduct money." "Oh, wait," Yekong busy asked again, "in this century, I just want to go in, can I go in and out at any time?" "Can." The elder contentedly withdrew 20 billion spirit stones, and Yekong was contented with a transfer token that could be used repeatedly. However, when the transaction was over, Yekong suddenly thought, Kuangpeng left himself with exactly 20 billion yuan, and the elders offered 200 million yuan per year. If it is 30 billion, it is estimated that the price will be 300 million. His ancestors were stingy, but they still lost. In early May, in the western part of Liuzun Kingdom, on the edge of the flood. This is located on the west side of Kangnan University 6. The endless floods are no longer rolling hills, but gobi, which can't see the head, cannot see the green, whether it is mountains or flat land, are all stones, very desolate. On a highest stone mountain, standing at the moment were several tall and short people, their sleeves swayed in the wind, and their eyes were staring at several small villages in the distance below the mountain. A turquoise stone scorpion just crawled out of a stone crack, but was caught by a big hand. The master of the big hand, a man in a black cloak and a high crown, opened his mouth and threw the stone scorpion into his mouth, and chewed. A charming woman immediately frowned and cursed, "Fallen into the sky, can you not be so disgusting? Is it true that you, a true emperor in the late Yuan dynasty, will not be hungry?" The scorpion-eating man was the corpse Yinzong who fell to help Tian Zhenjun. He laughed, clapped his hands, and ignored Yitong Zhenjun. Instead, he asked another scholar-like man around him, "Love is true, you right? How many babies can be born a year in this place where ghosts don't shit?" Qi Xingzong Tan Qing Huai Zhenjun laughed, "This kind of rebirth will never be wrong." "Oh, that's it?" Falling Sky said again, "I can't help catching pregnant women full term in the village." Yitong Zhenjun directly sent him a blank eye and cursed, "BT." Tan Qinghuai laughed, "It's no use catching pregnant women. This kind of abortion is divided into small and large abortions. The so-called small abortion is that people cast people into it, and they won't cast other gadgets, but the big abortion is unclear. It is very likely that it will be difficult to say that it will be possible to give birth to pigs and sheep." Fallen Sky laughed and asked, "Why don't you count on that, Yeziakang's little lady's skin, what is it?" Tan Qinghuai said, "Sorry is not a thing, it seems to be human." The Sky shouted, "What do you say is a big abortion and a small abortion? If you say it, you are saying nothing." Yitong laughed, "Tan Zhenjun, why don't you count, what will we do in the future?" Tan Qinghuai laughed, "Whatever he wants to invest in, that's what it is." Furious, scolded, "You are the stuff, a pair of stuff? Not a stuff." While they were talking, they saw a distant rug flying in the sky, and there was a boy in Xingyi and a handsome woman in red. "Yeziazi is here," the waiting Yuan Yuanying greeted him. If someone looked at it, he would be surprised. Several Yuan Yuanying were waiting for a monk who had just formed a den. "You seniors have been waiting for a long time. I'm not familiar here, so I took a detour." Yakong Yuan took a fist and quickly lowered the flying carpet. Update as fast as 8 degrees. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 880. Tan Qinghuai laughed, "It doesn't matter, as long as we catch up, it's okay. In fact, we haven't arrived long before, but it's a lot of time to fall into the true king." Yakong quickly hurled another fist. "Seniors, they are working." The Sky waved, "In fact, I can't help it. I have to settle my body in advance. Okay, let's not gossip, let's go in and talk." As soon as Falling Sky spoke, several Corpse Yinzong disciples immediately moved, and saw that they each took out a triangle flag, did a few strange actions, and staggered each other. There was an extra hut on the desolate stone mountain. The stone hut was very small, but there was a step leading to the ground inside. Tan Qinghuai couldn't help but sigh, "The fallen Emperor Zhenjun is really talented. I haven't noticed such magical circles as monks." Fallen haha laughed, "Don't make fun of me if you are such a small worm. If you didn't see it, how would you know that I was here earlier?" Tan Qinghuai's ancestor also laughed. Yakong can't help but sigh, "These old guys are fine, never listen to them seriously, no matter whether they praise you or scold you, they may lie to you." Walking down the corridor, there is a very large stone room, which is already in the middle of the mountain. This was created by the fallen in advance and ordered by the monks. It is not difficult for the monks to establish such a mountainside cave house. The Sky laughed, "I let the disciples do it casually, it's a bit humble, and everyone should not be disgusted. Yi Tong giggled, we are all here to help Ye Zongju, not to enjoy, as long as it can be used. Ye Kong busy said, nice, it's already very good, I really have fallen into love, and I really thank Xiao. The sky waved, I have to thank you for lowering the price to me for all the exercises. This is not a big deal. I hope it will end soon, so I can go back to retreat and practice. Yekongdeo said, this array of battles is set up, but they are all lost. There is no strong defensive formation. If someone interrupts at a critical moment, it is not good. What kind of powerful formation method do you want? The heavens smirked, the three monks after our three babies are no more powerful than any formation method here, and this is a deserted place, neither ore nor natural talent Daibao, so there will be no monks. Tan Qinghuai looked back and forth, but shook his head, although the barren here is extremely barren, there is no aura and no production, but the more likely this is, the more likely the evil demon to repair and hide, we still have to be careful. Falling a little displeased, left a sentence, and walked back to the stone room. I want you to do it, knowing that your 7-star sect formation is strong, don't show it like this, right? Tan Qinghuai ignored him, greeted his disciples, and began to arrange. He first flew into the air to check the terrain. He didn't know what to say in his mouth. After calculating, he let the disciples of Zuji go to work. Of course, the formation method set by Tan Qinghuai at this moment is not the one that was temporarily pulled out with the array disk flag, but a relatively solid and formal large array. Those who build the foundation should find a good position, level the ground, and then set up the next disk shape. The array of eyes, engraved with dense and mysterious runes, protruded a thin pillar like a wick in the center of the array, with a slightly larger stigma, where the stone was placed. Tan Qinghuai said as he arranged, Ye Zongju, this array is called the 8-gate Jingguang formation. It is relatively easy to arrange. Just look for the location and let go of my Qixingzong's special array eyes, even those complicated tips. Hey, come, I'll teach you to recognize the position. Ye Kong froze for a while, but did not expect that Tan Qinghuai was willing to teach himself the Qixingzong formation method, although it was only a formation method, but since Tan Qinghuai was able to handle it, it would not be too garbage. So Ye Kong and Zhang Wei followed, learned a bit about finding a position, and arranged for an eye. Ye Kong and they are also smart people. After learning for a while, they also understand how to find the position, preset the eyes, move the eyes, and determine the position. However, Ye Kong understood why Tan Qinghuai taught himself this method of formation, because the array of eyes needed by this array was specially made by Qixingzong. If you want to, you have to ask him for some special array of eyes. It is estimated that when the other party will speak about the conditions. Ye Kong is a smart man, and he guards these old guys deliberately, but sometimes he is too smart to lose. Tan Qinghuai taught him this, mainly to thank him for selling the whole book cheaply. As for the special array of eyes, Tan Qinghuai only wanted to take personal affection. As soon as Ye Kong asked for it, he immediately sent it. However, it is depressing that after Ye Kong finished his studies, he did not speak. Tan Qinghuai could not take the initiative to post it, right? That's too full, right? These 8 Jingguang arrays will have a powerful metallic defense formation after they are started. Even if there are a few UN infants, it is impossible to break through this array, Tan Qinghuai said, pointing to the sky, but above, I left an empty door, because this is the need for Yi Tong Zhenjun to perform the soul-inducing technique, and it is also where Huang Zixuan's soul enters, so it cannot be closed here, but here is also the weak link of the formation. At night, we people focus on defending here. While they were talking, Yi Tong Zhenjun had stepped out and smiled, it is still necessary to arrange a defense array. My soul enchantment is really bigger. Those monks thought it was the sign of Ling Bao's birth. All the preparations were ready, Tan Qinghuai said, there are still 3 hours left, and when the time comes, the moment of the worst anger will be around. There was still time, and everyone began to meditate cross-legged, waiting for that moment to come. For a few hours, the blink of an eye for the monk, the sunset rose, and there was silence all around, a few old trees that did not know how many years had died, and a full moon hung on the branches. It was already midnight. Yi Tong stood up, took out Swimizu, and said, "Let's tell everyone individually, although I'm still sure, but I can't pack the tickets, and accidents may occur." According to Tong Tong, Zhang Hui's eye circles suddenly turned red. When he walked to Swimizu and looked at Huang Zixuan inside, he didn't know what to say. But Huang Zixuan said, "Sister Wu Yi, don't worry, I believe that the efforts of Brother Ye and everyone's efforts will not be wasted, even if there are 3 long and 2 short. Don't blame Yitong Jinjun, I know everyone is doing their best for me. Also, Wu Yi, you have to take good care of Brother Ye." Huang Zixuan's last sentence felt like explaining his last words, making Zhang Hui's tears shed. And Ye Kong patted Zhang Hui's shoulders vigorously, and then firmly said to Huang Zixuan, "Zixuan, you can rest assured that we will succeed." Huang Zixuan was encouraged by his tone, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. "I believe in you." Then, Yi Tong said, "Well, I'm in. It may take about 3 hours to get the soul and the initial fusion, especially the first hour. This is the most important time to attract the soul, and you can't bother. Dear friends, I have worked. I am grateful for Xiao. When Zixuan is reborn, everyone will have the grace of rebirth." Ye Kong quickly hugged his fists and worshipped the 3 of them. This kind of moment is the most critical moment. Don't look at Ye Kong's firmness, his heart is also tense. Yi Tong nodded to everyone and told him, "The first hour is the most undisturbed." She finished, turned around, walked into the magic circle, and began to do things. Everyone is spreading out, and people within 100 miles are still entering. Tan Qinghua immediately ordered his real person at Zuji. "But those villages are within 100 miles. Said a monk. Skyfall scolded, "Then don't let them talk nonsense. Sleep peacefully, even a fart." The monks of the Kixingzong and the Corpse Yinzong also nodded quickly, leaving only a few disciples of the Kixingzong to control the 8-door Jingguang array, and all the other people of Zuji were flying out, spreading out and guarding carefully. "I went out to watch too." Zhang Hui nodded to Ye Kong and flew out. In the battlefield, the sky fell. Tan Qinghua and Ye Kong all sat down and meditated cross-legged, ready to prevent accidents. Update as fast as 8 degrees. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 881. At midnight, the moon was hanging high and the moon was sparse. Then he teleported and disappeared, giving a voice to Ye Kong and Tan Qinghua, "Come on, let me see." A few miles away, a few light rays flew, and they were approaching, but they were intercepted by the Corpse Yinzong disciples less than 100 miles away. Lu Guang stopped and saw that there were 7 or 8 monks and men, all wearing the same blue gowns, all the same cuffs embroidered with the same decoration. It seems to be from the same sect. The Corpse Yinzong disciple looked at those monks. Except that the old man was the monk Jidan, the others were real humans. Although the opponent has some strength, the disciple of the Dead Yin sect did not know the other sect, knowing that it was a small group of middle and lower door, so his tone immediately stiffened and screamed, "The Dead Yin sect does things, no one waits to avoid." A pair of young men and women were immediately furious and scolded, "What's so great about the Dead Yin sect? When I come to my wild wasteland, I will be under the control of my Hao Yang sect. The Middle-earth Jendao Alliance can still control our wild monks?" Generally speaking, Monk Kangnan refers to the monastic alliance with 18 high gates, which is called the Right Path Alliance. The Jendao Alliance occupies most of the area in Kangnan. It is exactly like the Sun Zhongtian, 18 high gates, dozens of middle gates, hundreds of lower gates, and the Xianxian family. Someone asked, "Is there only so many denominations in Kangnan?" Actually not. There are many denominations in these places on the edge of the flood, the borders of the barren land, and the dead in the western region. Some of these denominations are evil practices discriminated against by monks, some are suppressed by other decent sects, and others are small denominations who want to enter the right path alliance but are rejected. It is like Yekong's original betrayal of the 100 insects. Beizongjai and brother Jendao are still close, and the relationship is relatively normal. But now the wild land boundary in the western regions is not the same. There are more evil repairs here, and they don't like the right path alliance. Therefore, when Hao Yangzong heard of the corpse Yinzong, he was very disgusted. And the disciple of the Yin Yin sect also relied on a few major monks behind, and shouted, "What Haoyang sect, I have never heard of, unknown little Zong. Let me tell you, today is the sacred Yin sect, Kixing sect, and mixed Yuan Zong and Hehuan Zong work together, and none of them are waiting for you to offend, even if you leave, if not, huh." The old Dandan leader led by Hao Yangzong was shocked, and his heart came to the 4 high gates of the Jendao alliance. Could it be, that a strange treasure was born? Just as he was about to ask, he heard a rushing noise above his head, looked up, and saw 2 sharp-billed birds pull a luxurious golden speeding car, and lightning came. Before anyone arrives, the voice comes first. An evil voice sounded extremely loud. "All the 4 major denominations of the China-Turkish Alliance of Righteousness came to me to bargain for the land. Could it be that our barbaric denominations are really so indifferent?" After speaking, the car has arrived. When the curtain was lifted, a noble man came out. This man looked handsome, but his eyes were too wicked. Through the shaking bead curtain of the speeding car, you can see a woman in the car, Hung Chen. The woman did not wear anything. Guang Guang's buttocks were facing outside the car, and the disciple of the corpse Yinzong stared straight. Gui Gongzi got out of the car and, while fixing his pants, smiled at the young girl who came to Haoang Zongli first. "Yo, this isn't Chi Sushi, you are also shocked by Tianzhao. Will my brother take you to find a treasure together?" The real girl named Swibing suddenly angered. "Zhang Tianyi, you have to talk nonsense. I'm not your sister." The evil man named Zhang Tianyi laughed. "Don't be my sister, what if you want to be my roommate?" The male practitioner beside Swibing stood up and shouted, "Zhang Tianyi, be careful." Zhang Tianyi laughed, "I'm not mistaken. I'm a midterm monk now. Swibing will follow me only if I don't want to follow you. This is the real person who built the foundation? I advise you not to toad to eat swan meat. Xianxia is a friend." The old man led by Hao Yangzong came out busy and said, "Zhang Tianyi, you are so restless. Have you ever bullied me? Hao Yangzong has no one? If it was the birth of Yubao, I would have to compete with you." Zhang Tian smiled and said, "Ma Lao, I didn't say you, I don't know how to be so old, and you are still far behind me." Ma Lao was sneered in public and immediately became furious. But Zhang Tianyi said again, "It's on fire? Ha, don't hurry. I'll ask you. Did you wait for the first time? Why did you ask?" Ma Lao blushed, embarrassed, "I'm just here." Zhang Tian laughed, "Let you see my means," he said, calling into the speeding car, "Fair." The lying woman suddenly had a movement. She closed her long legs, turned over, drilled the pink face out of the car, and smirked at the disciple of the corpse Yinzong. "This brother," said Xianxia's voice, "the slave family wants to know what is the birth of Yubao inside." The brother got in the car and said that it would be good for the slave family. She finished with a charming smile. Looking at the disciples of the dead Yin sect again, they have already lost their minds, and their 2 eyes are showing up insanely, walking slowly. But at this moment, everyone suddenly flashed in front of him. A dark man in a black cape with a high crown appeared. This person was already standing next to the speeding car. At the next breath, as soon as the Gao Guan man raised his hand, a black body spray sprayed on the face of Sienna in the car, and he saw that pretty face quickly turned pale, then rotted, and the meat on his face fell down piece by piece. Huh! Shot to my disciples, does it not exist when I fall into the sky? Falling sky has been here for a long time, and has never appeared, but seeing that the other party actually shot with my shoe, he shot no mercy. This scene came too quickly, and no one present could react. The old man surnamed Ma was startled. This person actually used teleportation, that is, the Yuanying old monster. He couldn't help yelling at his heart. Fortunately, he hadn't shot at the corpse Yinzong disciple. It was no wonder that the Yuan old man was behind him. The evil man Zhang Tian was the first to wake up, and he didn't care if the servant was dead or alive, and he quickly said, "I've seen the corpse Yinzong's ancestor Yuan Ying fell to the ancestor, and his junior is the Yinshizong disciple Zhang Tianyi. My personal disciple, my master often tells us about his friendship with you. Fallen to heaven was called used to Zhenjun, and now he is annoyed by his ancestors." But remembering Hexa, his father had nothing to do with it. At that time, he had not turned into a baby, and went to find the ancient corpses for cultivation alone. In an ancient ban in the deep mountains, he encountered the body of a monk for 10,000 years. Falling overjoyed, excited and negligent, I came to know that the corpse had changed into a corpse. He was attacked by a corpse and was seriously injured. He thought he was in danger of escape, but no one knew the brother Hibibai who came to search for treasure. The last three joined forces to surrender the dead body. Fallen to get the corpse, Hai Shabasha to get the ancient treasures, everyone is happy, but they have become good friends. However, after reaching the heavenly changing infant, he didn't have time to travel and never saw Hai Shabasha again. Later, I heard that Hixabasha Shuang Huang was successful. Yinsha sect was opened. But at that time, the fall of the sky had been fascinated by the passage to Kangbei, so it did not matter. I did not expect to see an old man today. Although it's an old disciple, it's still unpleasant to fall into the sky, coldly. I know it's my corpse Yinzong disciple, you still have a shot. If I didn't see that the woman was using Xianxia Maishu, the person who died now is you. Zhang Tianyi was frightened, and he bowed his head and said, "Thank you for your predecessor's gratitude," and said to the disciples of the dead Yin sect, "Tao Yu, just now I just want to inquire about what happened there. Stupid thing, please forgive me. This day is also a personal talent, in danger and no chaos, talking and doing things without leaking water, falling into the sky is not easy to care about." As soon as Zhang Tian met, the old man named Hoang Zongma came forward to meet him. "Fallen to the sky, do NT worship, I know what you all think, but I tell you, you are all wrong. There is no strange treasure born there, nor is it a famous name, but it is helping the lunatics. The ancestors of Yezone, the suzerain, are calling for souls. Do NT think about it? Update as fast as 8 degrees. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 882. The old man surnamed Ma busily said, "So, I am reckless. In this case, I will go back and talk about the situation back to Daizong to prevent other people from harassing their predecessors." The old man surnamed Ma saw the sky fall so badly that he wanted to leave now, and went back to Zongmen Yuanying to make an accusation before making a decision. But it wasn't the first time that he fell out and sneered, "Since it's here, do you think you're gone?" As soon as Tian Tian said, all the people in Haoshanzong were suddenly nervous, and the old man surnamed Ma said angrily, "Senior, I can't wait to just come here to see, but the senior wants to kill me." The sky laughed and said, "Actually, why bother to kill you? But Benjun doesn't want to kill anyone today, you all stay and wait until we're done." Obviously, the fallen sky has seen that they want to go back and call others. With such an understatement, with a few words of his understatement, those ancestors of Zongmen did not look at it with their own eyes, and would never rest assured. Now that people are aware of their minds, the old man with the surname Ma dare not say more. These old babies do not care about a few more undead ghosts under their hands. If they are killed, there is no place to call injustice. And Zhang Tianyi was even more clever. He didn't even mention leaving, and leaned directly on the woman named Chen Swibing to chat. At the same time, in an underground cave house in the wild, two conversations sounded. Second brother, just now Tianyi returned the news, saying that the fallen sky over there brought people to recruit souls for the princes of the mixed monarch ancestors, along with the people of Hehuan and Kixing. If Tianyi and I hadn't cultivated mental communication, we wouldn't have heard of it. Another old voice sounded, recruitment? Do you believe it? A previous voice said, faith, why not believe it? The voice laughed, I went to see it just now, like the convergent atmosphere, it is either a yang change or a spiritualism. The old voice doubted, this sky is so amazing, it is really like the appearance of the evil treasures. Che, do you think I can't even tell the difference between the birth of Yubeo and the anti-sky spell? The voice said confidently. The old voice paused, and then asked, so, brother, why do you want to go to heaven? The voice called Big Brother laughed and said, if Yubeo is born, I don't have to go out for this, haha. His laughter was weird, as if it had a deep meaning. And the old voice came to understand quickly, and said, is that why you want to follow those wicked? The elder brother laughed, and said in a deep voice, yes, the most precious treasure I need is the Xianxia. The thick Xianxia, how can I not take it? But, heaven. The elder brother's voice snorted coldly, and said, fall to the sky, hum. I thought that when we opened the mountain, we wanted him to fill the scene. Such a trivial matter, he would not help. Also, he opened the Kangbei channel. I came to the brigade with a team of Jendao Alliance, and I didn't know how much benefit it had, and didn't come to inform us. It was better to save a dog than to save him. What do I have to tell him? The old voice groaned for a while, and also decided, it is true, we will not preach morality anymore, he said again and again, but if it really destroys the ancestral monarch to save the priest, our brothers are afraid. It can't be mixed in Kangnan. What he was worried about was indeed, if it really destroyed the spiritualism, it would offend the four high gates of Kangnan, and I heard that the emperor of the Yuan dynasty, Ye Kong, was very popular in the high gate of Kangnan. If it is true, in this way, Kangnan will have no place for them to stand. The elder brother laughed and laughed, of course, we can't come forward ourselves, we have to stir it up, and when they get confused, they let the days ambush there in advance to collect the evil spirits, haha, with those Xianxia is enough for us to break through to the complete success of Yuan Ying. Big Brother had been prepared for a long time. The old voice also laughed, but he asked again, how can we not show up and stir up the yellow again? The elder brother said, did you forget the two monsters on the south? The old voice suddenly realized, yes. But these two monsters are so powerful. Only the two of us can lead them, will they not be recognized by the sky? The elder brother ruthlessly said, what about recognition? No big deal, we go to Hunghuangli to live, that channel, I already have a treasure map, but I have never dared to pass, I heard that it is also very busy there. So good, let's get out of here. At this moment, the golden light array above the 8 gates has been permeated with thick yin. According to Yi Tong Zhenjun, this is the yin of the underworld attracted by the anti-sky art. This yin is more than the yin of the world. It is more refined and more horizontal, so this is also a treasure that Yin Shizong desperately wants. However, there is too much yin, and Huang Zixuan's soul is mixed in it. It takes time to separate it and find it, so at this moment, it is the most critical moment of soul hunting. If it fails this time, not only will Huang Zixuan be unable to resurrect, but even Yi Tong Zhenjun himself will be severely damaged. This is the reason why Yi Tong called twice before entering the battle. Ye Kong was thinking whether he should go out and prevent himself from bothering himself. But suddenly she looked at Tan King Hui's face suddenly changed, opened her eyes and said, "No, where's the monster?" At the same time, the fall that is blocking Hao Yangzong and Zhang Tianyi is also frowning. Watching the discoloration on his face, Zhang Tian was secretly smug in his heart, but he didn't dare to show the slightest. The glance of the sky was like a torch, and it was scanned on the faces of the people present. Nothing was strange, and then he sneered coldly, "I will go back and go, you do nt disturb, if it disturbs us, I will destroy you clan." After falling off the sky, he called the 7 or 8 corpse Yinzong disciples around him and ordered them, and then only a transient disappearance disappeared. "Let us go, let us all go. How many little monks want to keep me?" Zhang Tian grunted coldly. He and Master have practiced mental communication spells, and do not use tools such as musical notes to send messages at all, so as long as Master gives an order, he will shoot. Ye Kong was shocked when Tan Qing Hui said, "At this time, there are monsters, and I don't know what monsters are, what is the purpose?" He wouldn't teleport. He spit out 2 flying swords. It wasn't time to hide. With 1 foot and 1 flying high, he stood under the dark clouds in the sky in a blink of an eye. Looking far into the distance, I saw 2 behemoths walking on the Gobi beach, hundreds of miles away, each of which was as high as a 3-story building. The whole body was white and gleaming. It was particularly striking in the dark. It turned out to be 2 snow rocks. Lion. The snow rock lion, a rare wild beast. If everyone has been prepared to hunt the snow rock lion, it is a very happy thing. Its cold light skin and the sharp lion horn are the best material for making magic properties of ice. But at the moment, snow rock lions appeared, and 2 appeared at a time, which was not a good thing. "Animals, stop me," Tan Qing Hui Zhenjun sighed and spit out a simple, mottled, wood-grained ancient sword, which is exactly the magic weapon of this monk in his later years. At this moment he had no regard for any supernatural power, and his shot was the strongest attack. Of course, the monk's magic weapon is countless times stronger than that of the ancestor of Jadan. Not only does it wield the magic weapon's strongest attack ability, but it also nourishes the body for thousands of years. The power can be said to be amazing. 7 stars shine in Kyushu. Kixingzong's strongest sword attack spell. I saw that 1 flying sword quickly turned into 7 identical flying swords, and the 7 flying swords hung above Tan King Hui's head, lined up. Oh, a sword slammed, the first flying sword turned into a bit of cold light, straight into the sky. Then the second, the third, the fourth. 7 flying swords broke through the boundless black mist, as if 7 bright stars were rising in the sky. After a few breaths, Tan Qing Hui reached for the first snow rock lion that rushed. Here. The first flying sword came back down from Tianyu, just like a falling meteor, and shot directly at the top of Suian Lion. Boom, there was a loud noise, and the dazzling fire was shining, and the black gas around him seemed to be pushed away by an invisible giant hand. The prestige of the monk's flying sword, even Hong Hong Shao, was beaten down. However, this is the beginning, roaring, and another 6 consecutive crows roaring. A snow rock lion in front of him was beaten with blood, and a hard forehead was pouring blood with a cold chill. However, this kind of injury is not fatal to Hong Huang Shao, but makes him crazy. Yeah, Suian Lion raised his head with a loud cry, and the ice blue unicorn flashes on top of his head as if it were ice cold. The lioness in front is a lioness. The lioness is injured. The male lion is even more crazy, and howls too. The temperature around it is 3 minutes colder. When the temperature drops, the nearby yin starts to solidify, and the rolling yin also changes. It's a bit slow. Lao Tan. What are you doing? Such a big movement, they didn't destroy the soul, you broke it first. Tian Tianhui appeared next to Tan Qinghui. Tan Qinghui smiled bitterly, please, this is Hong Huang Xiao Tan is no matter how great he is, it is impossible to kill them silently. He snorted coldly, at this time, it depends on my Corpsian sect, and my Corpsian sect can kill the invisible and silently. Fallen Sky laughed sarcastically, and then pointed at Swayan Lion as tall as a building. 10 years of corpse poison. A nasty red and black mist sprayed out, and the 10,000 years of corpse poison was really powerful. Everywhere I went, the original anger was scared to dodge, and the cold air emitted by the snow rock lion was also a little bit of 10,000 corpse poison. No effect, in the blink of an eye, the two snow rock lions were trapped in the corpse poison. Skyfall claps his hands and laughs, I have to rely on me at the critical moment. Isn't this silent? Tan Qinghui held her breath and smiled bitterly. The effect is good, but the corpse poison is really smelly. The Sky laughed and said, not afraid of smell, as long as it is effective, those zombies of our Corpsian zone are rotten many times more than this. Update as fast as 8 degrees. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 883. When they had begun to relax and haha, Yekong had also flown over, and saw the snow rock lion trapped in the corpse of 10,000 years of corpses, and he was relieved. If you don't want to kill the snow rock lions, as long as you trap them for half an hour, that will be fine. There are 2 laborers, I'm going back. Yekong nodded his head and returned quickly. After all, there was no defense over the big team, and I was afraid that someone would tune the tiger away from the mountain, so Yekong hurriedly returned. As soon as Yekong just left, the look of the fallen Sky suddenly changed, as if something bad had happened, his eyes immediately turned. Surprisingly, the 10,000-year-old corpse siege surrounding Swayan Lion is getting weaker. Receive, these deadly venoms from the Sky did not come easily, and they were quickly reclaimed, but they were only half as much as they were now. Skyfall suddenly became furious and whispered coldly, He Fang Daiyu, have the ability to come out and see you, don't play with these means in front of Ben. When did Swayan Lion learn to collect my corpse poison? Indeed, the snow rock lion does not have the ability to collect corpse poison at all, and these 2 lions have not even opened their minds. May they use the magic weapon of corpse poison? Listening to Falling Heaven said, the 2 hiding in the dark preached, brother, is he now us? It's impossible, ignore him, and work harder to let the 2 beasts haunt them. You just saw the Yekong just now, but as soon as you got Dan, let Tianyi get him right away. Okay, brother, I already feel that the evil spirits not only have the evil spirits of our world, but also many billions of years of evil spirits from the underworld. They can be used not only for our cultivation, but also for the future. A powerful magic weapon. The elder brother laughed, these ghosts of the underworld are not things in this world, they are only forcibly sucked here by the matrix method. When she finishes casting, the evil spirits will turn into strands and return to the underworld. But if we are sucked in, we cannot return, the caster will be condemned in the future. The second brother laughed, they have to be condemned, we have treasures, really a good plan, brother, I admire you more and more. After the 2 had finished speaking, the tricks in their hands continued to be beaten, and the 2 snow rock lions became even more crazy, immediately entangled Falling Sky and Tan Qinghui. On the other side, Zhang Tianyi's strange long eyes besieged by the disciples of the corpse Yinzong Zuji slightly picked out, showing some contempt. He has been ordered. Are you starting? Hey, Master said that it was just a monk who had just become a Buddhist, so let me go. At the same time, on the unknown hill in the distance, there are already golden lights in the black overcast clouds, shooting out from the golden array of 8 gates below, and inserting into the thick cloudy clouds. This is Yi Tongzheng's use of supernatural power to start exploring Huangzixuan. The soul is gone. Yubao is going to be born. Everyone hurry up. Don't let outside monks my chance, Zhang Tianyi suddenly shouted. When Hao Yangzong and others saw it, they were all excited. What kind of treasure will appear like such a big sign? Maybe this opportunity is really yours. But they still dare not move. After all, there is a threat from a monk. Their Hao Yang zone can exist to this day, to a large extent, because of concealment. Even in the ordinary days, even Haisha and Baisha did not dare to offend, let alone a great monk such as falling into the sky. They didn't move, but someone moved. As soon as Zhang Tian coaxed, he spit out a magic weapon. Don't look at Zhang Tianyi's clean appearance, thin and tall, and a gold-lined gown on a white background, like a rich scholar. But the magic weapon turned out to be a round bowl with a sulky and interior. If you change to someone who is not a cultivator, you really can't bear to swallow the stuff in your mouth. Zhang Tianyi's magic weapon exited, no longer waiting, pointed at the corpse Yinzong disciple in front of him, and shouted, "Close." Although this Xianxia bowl was filthy in appearance, it was awesome. It instantly became the size of a water tank, and directly accepted the corpse Yin disciple in front of it. Ah! The corpse Yinzong disciple screamed and turned into pus and blood. The other dead Yinzong disciples were frightened, and shouted, "Everyone! They want to rush in." Master explained, "All killed." Although the corpse Yin disciples are only Zuji disciples, these Zuji real people are also good. The zombies are not simple. Among them, there are silver corpses equivalent to the level of Jidan. The silver corpse took the lead, followed by a dozen iron corpses, killed by the corpse Yinzong disciples. Zhang Tian shouted, "Ma Dao, must you hold your hands and wait for it to fail? This is the end, it would be better to kill it." The old man with the surname Ma was bitter in heart, knowing that the kid was tied to a chariot, but there was still no way out. Those zombies showed no mercy, and he and his disciples could not be strangled to death. All the disciples of the Hao Yang zone obeyed the order, and I blocked the silver corpse, and the others killed it. The last name Ma drank, and immediately released the magic weapon, standing with the silver corpse. In fact, the old man with the surname Ma and the disciples of Hao Yang zone are also somewhat selfish. If they really want to clear the relationship, as long as they work together to kill Zhang Tianyi. But seeing that Yubao is about to be born, who is not jealous and who doesn't want to rob while chasing? If you get Yubao, who cares about others? Let us rush together and kill, who gets the chance of Yubao? However, the surname Ma was soon being played again. He originally said that he resisted the silver corpse, because Zhang Tianyi was fighting the silver corpse. Presumably the two ancestors of Dandan had no problem fighting the silver corpse. But who knows, he only fought with silver corpse. Zhang Tianyi immediately closed his hands, and gave him all the tasks of resisting silver corpse. Zhang Tianyi. You. The old Ma surname almost vomited blood. Brother Ma resisted one or two first, and Zhang went to the front to inquire about you first. Zhang Tianyi smiled proudly, with a tiptoe, and Fijian carried him flying over the head of the dead Yinzong disciple, killing him towards the unknown mountain. Stupid horse surname, you Hao Yang zone to do cannon fodder. Zhang Tian smiled smugly and flew close to him, and when he saw that he was going to be near the top of the mountain, the tumultuous sky was in front of him. Yubao, all dumb. The biggest treasure here is the sky full of underworld yin, which is the treasure that most people in fancy. Just as Zhang Tianyi thought he was worth it, but a man stood on his way to the unknown hill. A young boy in Xingyi, standing with a flying sword, stood high in the air, staring at Zhang Tianyi with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead man. Zhang Tianyi was furious. This is the look that Lao Tzu often uses. What are you just dragging? He sneered in disapproval. Isn't the Taoist in front of you, Yekong, the monarch of the Yuan dynasty? Yekong replied, since you know my name, it seems that you have come prepared. Well, you are not wronged, ready to be killed. Zhang Tianyi laughed, don't take his mother's self-righteousness, what about the suzerain, you are just a buddy, tell you, I am not only in the mid-dandan period, but also my strength is slightly better than the normal mid-dandan period. One chip. Zhang Tianyi thinks that he is very good. Don't look at the middle period of Laozi's dandan, but the strength has reached the late dandan, that is the existence of a monk who just married Dan can only look up to. But that Yekong looked like he wasn't scared, his face and eyes didn't change at all, as if Zhang Tianyi had just said, he didn't hear it. Anyway, you still have the strength of the dandan period, then I tell you. Yekong smiled at the corner of his mouth. I never put dandan period in my eyes. Crazy, too crazy. One is crazy. Then the score is under your hands. Shenbiwi's golden sword. Yekong lifted his right foot, and his silver flying sword flew across the air, passing through the billowing yin, and turning into a straight silver light directed at Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi didn't dare to carelessly, he was busy and commanded his Xianxia bowl to meet. Clang. A crisp impact. Shenbiwi's golden sword was actually blocked, and the tip of the sword abutted the outer edge of the bowl. It is said that the level Fijian of the UN sovereign was mixed, but this is so Zhang Tianyi snorted. Since the 6th Battle of Yekon War, 2 levels of flying sword magic are also famous. Especially the purple jade fierce water sword, this sword did not cause damage to 6 Zhen, but let those onlookers suffer. Zhang Tianyi used his bowl to block Yekong Fijian, and he was proud of himself. The monks of the Gendao alliance did not have any knowledge. Such an ordinary flying sword also spread into a class flying sword? Then my bowl, isn't it a large bowl with a fork? But Yekong still smiled, really. After Yekong finished speaking, on the silver surface of Shenbiwi's golden sword, there was a sudden shatter of golden light. Those golden lights flashed from the tip of the sword to the end of the sword, and the surface of the silver sword seemed to have a layer of gold flowing through it. In the next second, Shenbiwi's golden sword seemed to be pouring out a strong impulse, pushing forward click. The tip of the sword actually pierced the wall of the bowl. Zhang Tian grunted, the magic weapon was damaged, and he was injured as a result. Without waiting for him to speak, the golden light on the surface of Shenbiwi's golden sword flickered once again, a sound of golden iron friction, and the sword tip was embedded in the outer wall of the bowl. Moreover, along the rift, numerous cobweb-like cracks extended on the wall of the bowl. Close, Zhang Tianyi didn't dare to hard-top him again, otherwise, the bowl will break in half sooner or later. He took the bowl in his hand, and said, it seems that the rumors are true, this sword is really extraordinary. Zhang Tianyi said, even holding up the bowl, as if drinking water, took the pus and blood from the disciples of the corpse yin, just drink it. Seeing this scene, even the calm Yekong couldn't help frowning and felt sick. But Zhang Tianyi smiled indifferently, opened his blood-stained mouth, and said, then let you see our magical power of Yinshizong. Blood-stained sword, Zhang Tianyi's abdomen closed inwardly, and he opened his mouth, and a stinky bloodstain spurted out, and that bloodstain turned into a long sword faintly. This bloodstained sword has 2 effects. One is to attack the opponent, and at the same time, it can also stain human artifacts, so that the magic weapon of the magic weapon and the master can be cut off. Watching the blood-stained long sword shoot, Yekong Kong read a movement, took back Shenbiwi's golden sword, and at the same time lifted his left foot Zioli sword. Zioli sword left the string. Update as fast as 8 degrees.